Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Viewers, comments and questions live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Hope you've had a spectacular weekend.
I've turned the volume up today, Dan, so we'll see if it's going to be loud. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Viewers, Comments and Questions. If you're new, don't be confused. If you're not new,
Be confused.
you know exactly what's going to happen. I think we should start with some thoughts for our friends and indeed anyone else in the Los Angeles area at the moment that is being affected by those horrific fires. It is awful.
Just devastating.
So our love goes out to anyone affected. I appreciate that probably doesn't mean very much, but our thoughts are at least with you and everyone else affected by it. It's a mess. And yeah, there's not much more to say about it really, but as much as we can help, sending.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay, welcome everyone from wherever you've joined us around the globe. We have BV is with us as always. BV, thank you so much for being in the chat and moderating and doing a great job in there. Neil Tupman is on. Hey Neil. Scott Curry is on. James Blessed.
Hey James.
Soundgas is on. I wonder if this might be Tony. Says if anyone's got any cues about the 636 preamp that we had on the show on Friday. So hello if it is Tony. Nice to hear from you, buddy. Chris W is on. Chris with a K. Larry does not live here. Why does Mick look so sad? It's the thumbnail. It's just, you know,
That's very funny.
It's just who I am, man. Andrew Jones is on. Connor O'Grady. Michael Giliberto. Hi, Michael. Great to hear from you as always, buddy. Todd Roy. Ron Dark. Hi, Ron. It's been a while since we've heard from you. James, blessed, we've said. Dan Otley. Ian Fan. Brother of my friend Sealing. And G Barge is on.
Gee.
Sorry, I've been all about Sealing fans this weekend.
Yes, you've entered into a vigorous relationship with many Ceiling fans.
Yes, Extractor fans. There's a really long joke about a guy who sucks all the smoke and steam out of a room, and the punchline eventually, because there are tractors involved, farmyard machinery, is I am an Extractor fan.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate the joke doesn't really work unless you tell it, but it takes about 25 minutes, and it's one of those jokes where you want to hit somebody after they told it to you. Not that you should hit anybody, by the way. Will Kiefer is on. Sub Rosa is on. Simon V. RDJ is on. Derek Johnson. Gordon Rankin. Hello, Gordon. Dave79. Mark Denning. Loads of people. Even Graham Campbell from Scotland.
Lovely.
How much more Scottish a name could you get apart from Angus McTavish? Up there tossing the keepers.
I love Scotland. I had a week's holiday in Edinburgh and I just fell in love with the place. So great.
Have you ever been up?
No, I went to Edinburgh and went to Loch Ness.
I would like to go up. I'd like to do like the Highlands and maybe even the West Coast.
Yeah, I would love to do Skye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look astonishing. But just looking at the skyline at Edinburgh, and it's like it hasn't changed in 200 years. You know, it's just so beautiful.
Kevin the Just is saying the audio sync is bad. Let us know if that is the case. It has a delay on it, which may have changed. I really hope it hasn't changed. Groovy. Rohit Darnorkar is on from India. Hello to India. Giant place that it is.
Neil Tupman says mixed fingers of tone looked damaged.
Yes, you may have noticed in the video on Friday I had something of a sort of Cabbage Patch Kid hand.
It did.
And
Like your own gloves.
Yeah, there's a bruise here, as you can see. Bruises all down here. I have fractured this bone here. It turns out.
Everyone's saying it sounds and looks great.
Good. So yes, I fractured this bone and a contretemps with a table, and didn't think anything of it, and then it just went poof, as you will see in the video from Friday and the video from this coming Friday. And then Catherine persuaded me to go to the old quacks.
Because I kept saying that doesn't look right, it looks really bad, and you were going, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
Well, I quite often twist my ankle and it looks exactly the same when that happens.
Okay.
But anyway, they were right, it is fractured, so they've told me to do this, not much they can do about it, and then hopefully it'll be right in the morning.
Right, everyone's saying audio is good.
Good, thank you very much, John777. Then let us stampede Jones. I'm just checking how many. We got 16 super chai, so we'll maybe let a couple more come in, and we'll get straight to the super chats. Thank you to everyone who is super chat henging.
Yes, indeed.
First in this week will be Neil Tupman. Hey Neil, always good to hear from you, buddy. He says, "Happy New Year, gents! Enjoying my new TPS leg end warmers.
I love that.
Socks in the store.
Yeah, they're really good.
They have a bit more spandex in them than the previous ones.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Very metal's coming back.
Very rock.
Have you seen they've released the Rockman in a pedal format?
Have they?
So the spandex. It's all. I'm so there for that.
Why have we not been sent one? Is my next question.
Strap a wig on. Come on.
Neil says, wife having a TPS account is just as sexy as the Lycra. Neil has a question about the loop labels, Dan. He says, what do you use to print off your loop labels for the switchers? I have a new QMX8 and it needs labels.
Thank you, buddy. What do we use? It is I can see it in my mind's eye.
Is it Dymo or is it Brother?
Brother P-Touch.
There you go. Brother P-Touch.
Yeah. And I think it's the 12 millimeter tape. And it comes in a lovely orange fluoro, and that's very visible. Do
you remember the old Dymo machines where you physically...
Yeah, I love those.
...grasped it and it sort of... debossed. Yeah, debossed? Embossed? Whatever.
Yeah.
The tape, and that's what you'd see on old Mesa amps. This is a modern electronic version, so you just type as keyboard on the front. You can get them on Amazon, or preferably from somewhere else. Keyboard on the front, type it in, print, bosh. And you can write things like, well, I won't say what you can write on them, and stick them on there until Dan notices.
Very good.
Scott Curry, hello Scott. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Greetings, legends. Hope all is well. Do you adjust the EQ of your Harmonious Monk 2 at all? Mine seems to lack a bit of definition. I've dropped a bit of bass and increased treble.
It depends on the rig that you're playing. I've never had to touch it, but the EQ is there for that reason.
Exactly.
If you feel that you need to add a bit more top end in it, that's one of the amazing things about the Monk. Yeah. Is that you can do that.
If I'm using the big boy amps, I will drop a bit of bass off. I think my one is a bit less bass because that... and also if you're using it in just into one amp, it can be useful to drop a bit of bass out. Sure. Bit like a Univibe, that very low, when it goes around the bass frequencies, can get a bit soupy. At wet dry, much less of a problem because you've still got the dry amp doing the kind of clear thing. And if you've got a big amp that's got loads of headroom, again, it's not such a big deal. But yeah, I think mine's got a bit of bass, tiny bit of bass rolled off.
Yeah, but it's great. It's great for that.
Exactly why it's there. And also guitar dependent, rest of rig dependent, and signal chain dependent. So, yeah. Chris W. Sorry, just to finally say, I run mine after my delay pedal. And the delay I use, the Free the Tone Future Factory, has quite the buffer in it. So if you're running loads of true bypass pedals that don't necessarily add much brightness, it might be that you're noticing that lack of treble. I find that because of the buffer in the Free the Tone, it makes up anything that's lost in the rest of the signal chain. Sometimes things can get a bit dark if you run them through loads of true bypass pedals, or I don't know, you've got cable runs or weird impedances or stuff on pedals. But I find that because I run it after the free the tone delay, the high end is perfectly intact for my needs.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hi D&M, says Chris W. I have an 80s Boss BF2 flanger that I absolutely love, but has developed an annoying hiss when using higher gain.
Mm-hmm.
Is this fixable, or should I just enjoy playing vintage gear? Or maybe buy a Red Wing? Well, obviously.
First of all, obviously buy a Red Wing. So, is it that it has developed a hiss, or is it that you just hadn't noticed it before? One thing with the vintage stuff, the first thing to go on the vintage stuff is generally the old filter caps. But that's when they go, it's more of a hum than a hiss. The hiss is like a white noise thing, but that version of the flanger is the one that's got loads of top end. Yeah, they're old, and those caps are starting to go. Wouldn't surprise me if you took it to someone, they said, yeah, the caps need replacing, and that sorted it out a bit.
Analog, is it, the BF2?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
very much so.
So part of the nature of presumably uses bucket brigades to create the...
Very much so.
Yeah, so part of the nature of those circuits is they can be a bit noisy. One of the reasons the Red Wing has EQ on the effect side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that that era of Boss pedals is easier to work on, mod and fix than the modern ones.
So. Yeah. Some of the modern ones, it's bin them
because you've got
you can't see them. You can't see the components.
I've told this story before. Somebody sent us some components once to have a couple of pedals modded and fixed.
Mick says,
I'm looking. Yeah.
Mick says, someone sent us some pepper.
Yeah.
It's just like little...
I'm looking in the bag and I can't see any components in here, but they have sent us a bag of pepper. And honestly, these little tiny surface mount components look like pepper. That's how small they are. So good luck.
Yeah.
But the old stuff,
the old ones,
an actual circuit board that you can get to.
Yep. And you can mod them and you can fix them. And yeah.
But,
it's a great flanger. It's worth having a look to see if you can get it fixed. I would still get a Red Wing.
Yeah. Hence Analog Man, obviously, modding lots and lots of Boss really cool pedals.
The True Heart says, I have a 63 SG just like that one.
Woo-hoo.
So cool. You guys are great. I learned so much from the show. Thank you, mate. Yeah, this is a 62 that I bought last year because Mick said, if you don't buy it, I'm going to buy it. So I had to find a way to buy it, which I... And, it is now the guitar that I wake up in the morning, my coffee and this. And it's just... What's that?
It's a remarkable guitar.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed by it.
It is a remarkable instrument. Connor O'Grady. Hello, Connor. Nice to hear from you. Connor says, hello, any tips for figuring out what types of pedals are used for a guitar sound on a record?
That's a really interesting question.
Is it a thing that comes with experience, or do I need all the pedals and it's trial and error from there?
Yes and yes. The problem with trying to work out what someone used on an album is by the time you think about the signal chain, if we're in a room and we've got an amplifier here and we stick a big muff on and you close your eyes, you go, yep, that's a big muff, because you're in the room, the signal chain is simplified. It's guitar, big muff into the amplifier. By the time it's recorded...
Chortle there. It's all big
please never lose that.
Big muffs and closing your eyes.
But by the time it's recorded, it comes out of the amp, hits the diaphragm, the microphone, that goes into the desk. It's balanced. It goes through a whole bunch of transformers and whatever stuff. By the time you're hearing it, it's a different thing. Now, the signal that hits that microphone, don't think that because it goes for a lot of stuff that isn't important. It's absolutely crucial. Not only because the person playing the guitar has got to be connected with that sound so they can do that thing, but, you know, good stuff in, good stuff out. But it's one of those things, if you're I used to have this conversation with Paul a lot, and
Paul Stacey,
sorry. It's very
gifted.
Yes. But he was saying, only just last year, he goes, I think I've got it now. It's pretty much got to a point where he can hear what they're using in the whole signal chain. And, you know, and he's right, you know, so often. But that is experience. There is also, one of the great things about the internet is you do stand a chance of being able to find out what people used. And lots of people aren't precious about hiding the stuff they used. If there's a guitar sound that I really dig, I will try and find out what they used and try and get as close to that as I can, just to try and experience a little bit of what that's like in the room. Case in point, and we're doing a show with this pedal tomorrow, but when you hear Angus do his thing, and it's an SG into a Marshall, we've all heard that sound before, but it's actually when you put the buffer from that wireless unit that he used, the Schaefer, and you hear that in the signal chain, you go, oh, there it is.
That's what it is.
And these little things that are actually responsible for conveying certain transients and certain things, and it's like it's always a worthwhile exercise. You know, places like, if you're a David Gilmour fan, places like Gilmour-ish are encyclopedic in what they go through with each song.
They've done the work
so that you can have a play and just see how close you can get.
A bit like learning the guitar, there's forwards and backwards. Knowing what it is and then being able to identify it will be part of your learning, and not knowing what it is and being able to identify it is part of your learning.
Yeah.
Dan's talking, I think, predominantly about gain sounds because, as he rightly suggests, microphones, preamps, post-production and all of that makes a huge difference to your perception of what type of gain device it might be, whether it's an amp or a pedal or whatever. You can hear EQ. So once you start to play with things like graphic equalizers, certain pedals that have got a very specific EQ curve, like a Tube Screamer, like a Klon, you can start to hear those EQ curves through experience. Now, much easier is stuff like delay and modulation effects. Mm-hmm. Modulation effects sound very, very distinct. So you should always be able to tell a rotary speaker from a Univibe. You should always be able to tell a chorus from a phaser. Mm-hmm. Whether you can tell a chorus from a flanger is a little bit more difficult unless it's a very chorus or a very flanger. Yep. But if it's somewhere where those two pedals meet, it can be quite tough. And I think if you don't have individual pedals, like, it might be worth, as your journey goes on, picking up like a Tone City Angel Wing, like some less expensive versions of sort of classic pedals, and playing with them and getting to know their sound, so you can, so that will help. It'll also let you know what you like if you want to aim for something a little more considered, shall we say. Or you might be in possession of a multi-effects unit, which has got the vast majority of effects under the sun. You can just dial them up. Dial up a classic flanger, dial up a classic phaser, dial up a classic chorus, and just familiarise yourself. So at the one end, it's you using this stuff and getting used to what it sounds like, and at the other end, it's reading forums and other online information that tells you what it is, bearing in mind it might not be right.
There you go.
And very often is not right.
Yep. And it's like going onto a tuition video, learn to play this song, and only half of them are approaching
anywhere
being
near
correct.
same key, I think.
Yeah.
When we started doing TPS 10 years ago, I wouldn't have confidently been able to tell you the difference between, I don't know, a chorus and a phaser, for example. 10 years of being sat here or there, week in, week out, I think I'm pretty good at it now.
Yeah.
I think I can tell you most things. Specific distortion pedals, that's much harder.
Much harder.
Much, much, much harder.
Because that is all to do with the relationship, the guitar and the amp.
Yeah,
You know.
borderline impossible, I would say.
Very tricky.
Yeah, but you should be able to know whether it's a fuzz, an overdrive, or a distortion character. That should be relatively obvious.
Yeah.
And then it gets a bit more nuanced, like, is it a boosted cranked amp? Or is it a cleaner amp with a really nice overdrive pedal? Again, I think that's something that I can start to hear now, or it might be both, of course. But yeah. Anyway, that was a long answer. I hope there was some useful information in it. Connor. There can be only one. He was called Connor, wasn't he? McLeod. How is it you stay so young, Connor?
New York.
Oh, what a fantastic movie.
Brilliant.
Highlander.
So good that they did like... It was so good that they were able to do like 6 sequels that were all garbage, still trading off the first one.
Oh, I kind of want to watch it now.
Yeah.
Highlander, in case you missed it. Michael Giliberto. Hello, Michael. Hello, Legends and fellow chatters. Friday's show was classic TPS.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for the group. Question for the group. What players are well known as telly into Marshall guys? I'll offer up Jim Babjack from the Smithereens. Others? I'll start you off with Graham Coxon.
Yeah. The guy that... Joe Strummer.
Georgia Satellites?
Yeah.
Is he...
What's the guy that had the walk? The duck walk?
Wilco Johnson. God, there must be loads. Jimmy Page, anyone?
Yeah, Quo.
Yeah, although they were quite often Voxes.
Oh, yes, of course.
There were Marshalls, but I think in some of those Marshall 412s were Voxes.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Okay.
So, sorry if I'm talking out of my anus there, but...
yeah, I guess actually Wilco was using solid state amps, wasn't he, as well? I mean, they all use everything.
Yeah.
But the...
Well, I'd rather hope that the group will be jumping in with answers. Richie Kotzen, Andy Summers, Mark T says Richie Kotzen, that's a really great shout. Chris Quinn says Andy Summers. Mick Ronson in the later years says Kev Tagout.
Yeah.
Kevin the Just says Wilco actually played solid state HH amps. Roy Buchanan says Reeves, says Marcus Reeves.
Roy Buchanan played Pro Reverbs though, didn't he? He played Fenders predominantly with the he was known for having the treble and everything like really high. That was his set, and
I think it was everything
cranked.
just flat out.
Yeah, and the amp absolutely dying.
Used to light on its face sometimes, I think.
Right.
John Pardo says apparently they're making Highlander yet again with Henry Cavill.
No,
Henry Cavill's in everything.
He's in it. Yeah, he's in a lot, but he yeah, my wife's a Henry Cavill fan, and you know, because why wouldn't you be? He seems like a lovely guy, but he was burned recently by some Hollywood shenanigans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because he was supposed to do one movie and was offered none, and the movie fell through and it was sort of left in limbo. But I mean, he's Superman. He's always going to be fine.
Yeah, well, unless you've got some of Kryptonite, of course.
Of course.
and then not so fine. But what I find is usually finds a way out of it. Like usually.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Even death has no hold on him. Bit of sunshine, he's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scott Gaylor says he's in everything because there can be only one. Mate.
Thank you, Scott.
You win today, Scott. Well done, buddy. That's great.
Ian Fan. Hello, Ian. We talked about Ian earlier. Biggest gear regret was selling my G3.
Oh, bless you, mate.
What's a piece of gear you would like to have back? I guess that you have sold.
My Marshall JMP 50, last of the non-master volume Marshalls. That thing was an absolute monster, and I sold it for 300 quid because I'm an idiot.
My Mesa Mark III hardwood in flight case, 1x12 combo. Which I bought for 925 and sold for 950, I think, after 3 years gigs. 2 years gigs, I think.
Right. Yeah, amps, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, fair to say, both of our guitar game has improved considerably.
Yes, absolutely.
In recent years.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. G-Barge, hello Greg.
G'day, mate.
Good to hear from you, buddy. He says, friends, I wonder how some pedals, such as the JHS Colour Box and Soundgas 636, might compare to good 500 series preamps for recording, including for vocals. The JHS is set up for it. Would others fare okay in that role? I'm going to have to spend some more time with the Colour Box because there's been 3 or 4 occasions where I've wanted to use it. And every time I've used it, I cannot get enough headroom out of it.
Right.
So I don't know whether I'm doing something idiotic, whether there's something internal that needs flicking. I know there's a XLR and a TRS function, all the obvious switches on the side I've changed with, but I thought I'd use it in my bass rig, but just couldn't get enough headroom. And we've got 2, and I tried them both.
Okay.
So my question about the Colour Box is it optimized for guitar so that you can hit it and it does overdrive?
Right.
Like,
but there's a new one that has more headroom.
Is there?
I think, yeah.
Maybe that's why they've done the version 2.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Whereas if you compare it to 500 series pre, for example, you can get significant headroom out of one of those. The Grampian, before we send it back, I am going to...
Oh, I don't want to send that back.
Plug... I think he's going to want it back, mate. I think we're going to plug some microphones in it and test it.
But unfortunately, it got lost.
Oh, no.
And broken.
Expect a bill.
It's gone. Oh, okay.
Expect a large bill.
But I'll keep looking for it. Don't send the bill yet. I'll keep looking for it. Keep looking on my pedal board for it.
But, so we get asked a version of this question, Greg, about actual guitar pedal preamps versus normal pedals, and can they do the pedal job? And the preamp job, sorry. And in most cases, for a standard pedal, they can't, because they don't have the output level and impedance to drive a power amp in the way that it needs to be driven. They're designed to hit the front end of an amp. And I suspect that's how it is for most guitar pedals that call themselves preamps. Now, the 636 and the Colour Box are different. Simon Jarrett's Kingsley pedals are different. They operate at very high levels. They have huge amounts of output and the correct impedances to drive line level.
Yep.
So it's a really good question. I'm wondering if we can make a show that anybody in addition to you would want to watch. We might be able to. I found that making shows about recording, about 80% of people just turn off.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit of a black hole. But I think there's something in there
it's important
to follow
stuff
up on.
For, because where else are they going to find out?
It's too hard, isn't it? It's too hard, and it's too long didn't read for most people, because I think for most people who don't record professionally, Why would you go through all that hassle when you can just use a device that's got an output specifically designed for the job?
Yeah.
Invoking all of this, separate preamps, microphones, worrying about line level. God, it took me almost a year to figure out how line level works in our recording system. 6 months. Because line level isn't line level, by the way.
Yep.
So, yeah. Good question.
Yeah, very good.
Good question. I would like to hear the 636 compared to a 1073, for example. Not to ask the question which one is better, but how different do they sound? One thing I really learned as we started getting into analog outboard, I now know what the Neve sound is. I now know what the API sound is.
Yeah, okay.
Because people talk about it and you can conceptualize it, but until you work with it a little bit and hear it on your own sources, it doesn't make any sense. And I guess that's the skill of great engineers and producers. They know which of these sounds is going to be most appropriate. It's not about better or best or worst. It's about that will work for that.
Yeah. Yep.
So, which is a long way round saying, I want to try it. Yep. Will Kiefer. Hello, Will.
Hello, Will.
I know very little about tube amp maintenance. Me too. How long should they last playing 15 to 20 hours a week? Will it be obvious when the tubes need to be replaced? Or will it sound slowly worse over time?
15, 20 hours a week. Well, it depends on the quality of the tubes. For example, I've got some old Mollards in my AC30 that have had like many hundreds of hours playing time and it's still fine. And it's not biased that hot, but you know, they run pretty warm in there. Yeah, and it depends which tubes you're talking about. One of the tubes that works hardest in the amp is the phase inverter. And it might be that goes first. It depends if your power stage is cathode biased or fixed bias. Depends how hot you're running them. But 20 hours a week, you need to remember that valves were created at a time when, you know, if you think about valve-driven Colossus, the old computer at Bletchley Park, that was operational for years and it was, you know, fine. There was valves are the technology of the day and they were expected to last a long time. So yeah, it depends on how hard you're running it. You will know, like 95% or 95% plus audio problems that you hear with a valve amp is a valve. So a couple of things that you can do, if you take the back off your amp and you see them all glowing lovely and red, but one of them's glowing blue, that's a sign there could be a problem with the valve. If you see that they're all glowing red, but one of them isn't, that's a sign. If you're getting weird noises and you grab a wooden chopstick or something and just very slightly tap the valves, and you know, if you hear one of them's much louder than anything else, it might be that valve's gone microphonic. There's some really simple things that you can do without having to be a guitar tech to work out if a valve is going or not. But one of the good things about valves is you'll hear it when they start to go.
The point about does it get slowly worse over time, it certainly slowly changes over time, whether you consider that to be worse or not. Often talk to someone who said they haven't changed the tubes in their amp for God knows how long, put new ones in and couldn't believe the difference. Hated it. Put the old ones back in.
Yeah.
So it's not always a better or worse thing. And he probably just said this, it really depends on the amp. Like our AC15 needs revalving quite frequently.
Yeah.
And as somebody has said, Dustin Thiessen has said, amp companies seem to run EL84s well beyond spec.
Yeah.
And that will kill them faster. That amp definitely sounds better with new EL84s every now and again.
Yeah.
My 2-Rock gets used a great deal. I've never changed the tubes in it.
Yeah.
Our deluxe reverb gets the crap kicked out of it every experience day. It gets turned up to 10 and hammered.
Perfect.
Never changed the tubes in it.
It's great.
So,
and the Princeton. One thing about cathode bias is a big thing. I know because having digged deep into the AC30 thing, when they were making Mullards and Svetlanas and those sorts of really high quality valves, the bias, the cathode resistor, the cathode bias resistor, was like 50 ohms, and it was right. That's the right resistor for those sorts of valves. But modern valves are different, and if you've still got that 50 ohm resistor, they're going to run really hot. And if you go up to like 80 ohms, it puts them in a better place, and they'll last ages and still sound really good. Now, some people like the sound of those valves biased really hot. You know, the matchless, they are biased really hot, and it sounds amazing. And I'll just say, Dave Gregory still has his original valves and his original matchless C30 from '94, but they're really good valves. So, you know, horses for courses.
Yeah. Obviously, in a fixed bias amp, it's a pain because, well, it's a relative pain given that you have to bias the amp for the new tubes, depending on what amp it is. Most Mesas don't require that because they, anyway, long story, but they don't. Most Fenders and Marshalls, you'll have to have the amp rebiased for the new output tubes. So I was going to say, get a new set, swap them over, see what you think, but it could be a bit of a pain to have it rebiased to do that.
Yeah.
But if you want to know, you got to know.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Yes. I would say if you're absolutely hammering that amp 15 to 20 hours a week, yeah, you will want some new tubes within months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're running it, you know, at kind of sensible, you know, it's not being driven into huge overdrive, let's say with the master and the preamp somewhere past 2 o'clock. If you're below that, you could go years without needing to replace them.
Someone just said the high one is now perfect focus.
Oh, it's because you need to look at the camera, Dan.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, it picks up an eye, so if we're both looking down, it will focus on something else.
Someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has that sorted it?
All this newfangled business now.
I know.
Okay, moving right along. Sub Rosa. Hello, Sub Rosa.
Hello, mate.
Got my first strap wired to 50 specs. Tone pot to neck and mid only. Clarity on position 2 is the best I've ever had. Thoughts on various strap wirings? I've never tried it. I might try it.
What's in yours? 61 though. That doesn't have tone pot on the bridge.
Yeah, the tone pot on the bridge is one thing, but 50s wiring, Strats aren't generally wired 50s wired.
Oh, are they not?
I don't believe so.
Oh,
in the
okay.
way that Gibsons are wired 50s wired. I'm trying to remember what the difference between 50s wiring and normal wiring is.
One, the signal is in on the wiper, the other one's on the lug.
Yeah, and in a Gibson anyway, in a 4-pot Gibson, 2-humbucker 4-pot Gibson, what it means is you get much more colour off the controls. It stays a little bit brighter as you turn it down, and you just get a wider range of tones, which anyone into more old school sounds usually infinitely prefers over modern wiring. Now, I believe that Strats are just wired, essentially modern wired, if you take the straight equivalent. I must try it.
Interesting.
So on Gibsons, if I gig with my Les Paul or 335 or 345, there'll be bits of the gig where the volume knob is on 3. Because of the nature of 50s wiring, because of the nature of the way the guitars put it out, to get a clean sound, you're sort of down there, and it can sound really good and full. My Strat never goes below 7 or 8 ever, because below that it is pretty much totally unusable given the sorts of sounds and pedals that I use.
Yeah.
So I wonder if 50s wiring would make a difference to that, is what I'm galloping towards, because they're all audio taper pots. It's not like the Gibson's old school pots were linear or anything.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, that's really interesting.
Oh, apparently Paddy's in the chat.
Paddy!
G'day, mate.
Patois! That'll be Paddy Blight, whose worst gig in the world is playing for that pedal show band.
Yeah. I do need to talk to you about something else, Paddy, so give me a shout.
And Paddy, I say public thank you for the flat wounds you sent me for my bass. Thank you. And Pad's going to come in, actually. We loosely asked the question if you might want a tiny bit more bass content, like bass for guitarists. And while Dan and I wouldn't be qualified to present that, we're going to get Pad in to act as referee.
Okay.
To offer some actual bass players' insight.
Okay.
To say, not like that, mate. Like this.
We're just going playing bass and we'll just shout at him for an hour.
Yeah. I'm gonna share a bit of bass information that Paddy gave to me that I'm going to share with all of you, with big thanks for Paddy. One of the things I found as I was learning...
But where's the pink piece?
It's at home.
Oh, okay.
Learning the big guitar is very... These strings are obviously a great deal fatter than the guitar string.
Yes.
And they require much more strength to push them down.
Right. Even
though it's at low, it's longer scale length and it's lower, right? But they're so fat that if you're playing like... something like that, which requires good right hand technique, actually the physicality, or even what you can find is, in order to push the string down, you're having to push quite a lot of force that way forward.
Oh, okay.
Which is completely different from a guitar, because you just don't need to push that hard on a guitar.
Right.
Ergo, big problems. Pad says, forearm pressure. Push the neck forward.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And you can get much more balance. He's saying he gets his students to play scales, I think he said with no thumb on the back. Not like that, but so that you're not putting any pressure on the back. Not that that's what you're going for, but it's just little stuff like that that has made learning the bass and being able to sustain it over a whole set of material.
Sustain. Go away and have a bite.
Probably get a copyright strike for that, won't we? Chords on the bass, man.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, thanks, Pad.
Oh, Paddy, you're stealing my heart away.
And you stole
And you take it. But we need you today, oh, Paddy.
Yeah. I did buy that Ampeg 410, by the way, Pad. It moves. It moves in a really good way.
It's 410, but so deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but it's, it's cool.
Sorry, right. 6 string or nothing, says Stephen Holt. Well, How is learning the set going, Mick? I've learned... Well, I missed a week's rehearsal because of my flaming hand. So, and I am only the dep, by the way. So, I'm not sure when...
Yeah, but you've got your band.
When I'll get the call. Yeah, but I play guitar in that.
Yes, but that's good. You got you're playing.
Yeah.
You got magic is happening. Worlds are colliding.
The longer scale length increases tension, Mick. Come on. It does. It does. But they're tuned much lower, so that's less tension.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yes, it is much more tension. You're correct. Paddy says, we're giving away all of our secrets. Looking forward to it. My time is too bad for bass, says Frankie Holt. Mine too. So
stop it.
I naturally play way behind. My guitar world is behind and swung always, which is something I don't understand musically, but it's something I do naturally because that's the music I like. And that's no good for a bass player.
Oh, really?
Well, I've been learning a lot of stuff and I'm like, he's ahead. He's ahead.
Oh, okay.
And he's not ahead, he's on.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Pretenders. Don't Get Me Wrong, and the other big one, the other huge single they had. Flipping great bass lines. Just brilliant.
Which band?
Pretenders.
Ah, yeah, man.
Boop, 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 boop. Everything's like boop, 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 thud, 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 blah. That's all I hear these days. Anyway.
Paddy says, gradually making sure I never have to bring anything when I pop in. Nice, Paddy.
Right. Simon V. RDJ. Hello, Simon.
G'day,
Simon's
mate.
joining us for Experience Day at some point this year. He says, please take a question from the chat. Thank you, Simon. That's very kind of you.
Okay, I have one here.
Yep.
From Neil Pike. Neil says, the Red Wing has made me rethink my entire ethos when it comes to my pedal board and what sounds I want. Has any pedals had this effect on you? Thank you, Dan. Well, yeah. Thank you. Me and Mick and everyone at Hampstead. But I know what you mean, because every now and then, like I often have those moments when we're playing through gear on the show. You know, when I first heard the Mistress or the CE1 had a profound effect. When I first heard a real tape delay, that was profound. But even like last week, playing through that 636 was like, this is, you know, it absolutely has the effect to make you rethink everything. Because what can happen is you can find one sound that you connect with on such a profound level that it does make you think about, okay, this is what I'm doing now, and I'm going to build everything else around that sound.
Was the question specifically pedals, sorry? Or was it any gear?
Have any pedals had this effect on you?
I'm going to offer a more general reply, which is, before we started TPS, I didn't really know what delay pedals and chorus pedals. Let's pick three: delay, chorus, and rotary speaker. I didn't really know what they did, and I might have had them and I might have used them and sort of turned them on, but not really understood delay specifically, I would say. And digital reverb. Both what I'm about to say goes for delay and digital reverb. Because I didn't understand the fundamentals of delay, stuff like subdivisions, stuff like the fact that an analog delay sounds very different from a digital delay, from a tape delay, from an Echo Rec style multi-head delay. I had no idea about any of that. Once that started to land, then I started to use delay properly.
Well, you're getting more out of it. You're getting
I
out to use
understood
it musically.
the application.
Yeah, there you go.
So when to use a slapback, because for me, before all of that, delay was I'll just turn it on and that'll be about
I remember doing the first solo show and kicked on the doubling delay, and I was like, and everything just popped forward. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whether it's a slapback, a doubling delay, a quarter and an eighth, dotted eighth, you know, the classic edge. So that definitely was the thing for me. It's like, oh, wow, this is new day. Mm-hmm. Because if you're trying to emulate songs in a set, so many classic pop and rock songs have a very specific delay. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it.
Yeah.
So stuff like playing Vertigo by U2, anything rock and roll with a good slap on it, various other things with a doubling delay. And so it would have been, I think it's delay in general for me. And then understanding how that works. So at this point, I now have a Free the Tone Future Factory as a delay pedal I use all the time. And that's got, preset 1 is the quarter note and dotted eighth, which I can tap.
Mm-hmm.
Preset 2 is my all-round 335 millisecond delay, which kind of works for the sort of Robin-y, Eric Johnson-y general blues playing. Not that I can play like either, but anyway, that's that sound. Larry maybe. The next one is interesting because it's a tappable quarter note, but it's a dual delay, so the other one is a modulated 30 milliseconds. So it provides a chorus.
Yeah.
So I have chorus and a tap. And then the last one is slapback. And I find that covers most of what's required.
Nice.
Yep. Great question. Thank you. Charles Breen. Hello, Charles. Who says, I have inherited an 89 Japanese Fender Tele.
Nice.
Custom, Tele Custom. So that's the one with the bound edges. Over the festive break, pots had seized up, but have loosened up quite quickly through use, except one. How do I get a tight pot to loosen up?
There's a product called Servosol. I think in America you've got a product called it's a specific switch cleaning lubricant that you would spray in the pot and loosens it up. But you've got to be careful with that. But yeah, that Servosol is the one that I recommend in the UK. Oh, what's the one in America called? Someone will tell me.
The good
Deoxit.
Deoxit, yeah. The good news, Charles, is in your Japanese 89 Fender Tele Custom, they are not anything special, those pots. So if it's done, replace it.
Yeah.
It's not like a vintage guitar that you need to preserve. So if it's not working right, just replace it. And if you squirt the Servosol in there, don't use WD-40, etc. Use a specific switch cleaner, and it kills it. You can just replace the pot. That's fine. Just check that it is the pot, because this is going to sound really dumb, but sometimes the knob can have come loose, dropped down, and have been retightened again, and it's actually physically catching on the plate. Now you're going to hear that, and you probably see it immediately if it is that, but just check that it's not that.
So Gordon Rankin says, I would never spray anything in a pot.
There you go.
Soft carbon can get really messed up from most of these sprays. Yeah, I agree. The reason that I like the
switch cleaner,
Servosol is because it dries completely, almost like lighter fluid. It sort of evaporates completely and leaves almost like no residue. But I agree. If you don't have to, if you can get away with, generally, if the pot's got to a point where, because I had pots before where it gets stuck and you spray it, it would work for a bit, but quite quickly go back to that thing. When it starts doing that, the pot's done. You have to replace it.
Just replace it. Yeah, they're not terribly expensive, and you can replace it in that guitar without worrying about damaging its value or anything like that.
Yeah.
What about physical oxidization of the actual pot mechanism itself? I say that because when I got my Sunburst Strat, wherever that is, the switch was almost impossible to move. Do you remember?
Right. Yep.
So I cleaned it with switch cleaner and a brush, and then it functions fine.
Yeah, that's great. So absolutely.
So you could try some physical cleaning.
Yeah, the switch is different. So in the pot, you've got your wiper, and that goes on this carbon film, which determines where the wiper is in relation to where the lug is, and where it is on that carbon film determines the resistance, right? It's that old carbon film that is really susceptible. Carbon film that is really, really fragile. But what you can do is you can, if someone's restoring the pot, they'll take it apart and see if they can sort of dry brush the carbon and clean the wiper separately.
Not worth it on an 89 Japanese pot.
No. But if something like this, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah.
And so you can do that. But if it's metal on metal and you've got crap there, absolutely deoxit, Savasol, all good.
There you go. Stuart Ascot makes a very good point. Very good point. Check if the Japanese telly has metric or imperial pots. This is a good point. I don't know how much difference it makes on a telly plate, but I've had instances in the past where I've tried to put American pots in a Far Eastern guitar and had to ream the guitar out in order that the pot fits. So the Japanese pot is not as, hasn't. Childish laugh there, Dan?
Carry on.
Childish laugh there. Where the where the flange on the pot is too big to go in the hole.
Oh boy! Welcome to Anderton's.
Welcome to Anderton's. Where is Danish Pete when you need him? I do one of the time that I can remember him laughing harder than I've ever known him laugh was we were talking about some pedal and he said, if you look down the annals of history, we had to stop filming. He was gone for about 10 minutes.
Oh man!
Or I was anyway. Good.
Remember that first NAMM that we did with him, and we stayed in the room together.
I had for a week after that.
And we had the breakfast with Andy and Devon Townsend.
Oh god!
Oh man, that was. We laughed so much that we hurt, like physically hurt. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Little honk there for Andy Timmins and Devon Townsend.
Really,
having breakfast in Denny's Diner, which, yeah, I'm sure as the penultimate breaths start to happen, that will be one that flashes by. Victor Gustafsson, hello Victor.
G'day mate.
He says, Happy New Year, gents. In your opinion, what analogue delay is closest to the Deluxe Memory Man today? Is it still the Sir Discovery? And what about the Dodd Rubberneck?
Yeah.
We've never had a Dodd Rubberneck and we should get one because everyone says it's brilliant and it probably is.
It's really good. It's a little bit noisy.
And the Deluxe Memory Man isn't?
Well, yeah. I'd be interested to see what you think. The Dodd Rubberneck is great.
What about this? With the Amazio, or is the
it's not? Yeah, it's still not
different.
No, it's different.
No, and it's dark sounding, isn't it?
That is dark sounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the Analog Man ARDX20.
Yeah.
Which is really
magical. I think the closest one is the Clockwork, the J Rocket Clockwork.
Oh yeah.
That's really good.
That is really good.
But if you want a Memory Man sound, grab a new EHX Memory Man
1100 TT.
It is. Yep. It is.
Do they still make it?
They still make a version of the Memory Man, an analog version. But honestly, just if you're after a Memory Man sound, just buy an Electro Harmonix Memory Man.
Yeah, we really like it.
I use that. I use that quite a lot. It's really fabulous.
Yep. But yes, we should get a Rubberneck. I really love the Jam Dalai Lama Extreme.
Oh, it's magical.
That's really, really cool because you can get, I don't know about exact Memory Man sounds, but you can certainly get all those lovely analog textures the modulation, but there's loads more that it does as well. That's really, really cool. Jam pedals, Delay Llama Extreme. Jude Lee says, I'm interested in the Red Wing. The Hampstead Red Wing. I would have stereo effects before and after it, but sometimes want to run mono. With the internal switch, do I have to open the pedal each time I want to switch to mono? Yes.
Yeah.
You do. Because it changes the input from standard tip and sleeve to tip, ring and sleeve.
Yep, that's right.
What I would suggest is, what stereo effect do you want to run before it? Because I would make it your first stereo effect, run mono into it, and stereo out.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. But I'm trying to think of a stereo effect that you'd want to run before it.
I would just get a stereo to mono summer at the end of your board, and when you want to go mono, just sum everything together. You could do that. But yes, I agree. It's if you want to go change it from mono to stereo, you need to take the back off it.
So let's unwind this a bit. What you're saying is, let's say you've currently got some stereo in and stereo out pedals on your board. When you want to run mono, presumably, if it's let's say it's a timeline, for example, you unplug the right out and the right in.
Correct.
And the next pedal right out, right in, assuming the left is mono.
Correct.
And that gives you a mono signal flow.
Correct.
In the Red Wings case, unplugging the outputs would be the same, so that's just fine. If you left it on TRS, is not one of the others just a mono input?
If you left it on TRS, yes, but you would need to.
So if you knew whether it was the tip or the ring, could you just leave the TRS cable in there? Or does it change the nature of the outputs? This is an interesting question. Brian, if you're on, please answer.
Yeah. I think you can. No, I think you can. If you take out... Yes. No, you don't need to. You don't need to. It'll sum the stereo input. You don't need to. All you need to do is take out the right output, and it sums the stereo signal input. It sums it to mono.
Even with a TRS input?
Even with a TRS input.
What about if you plugged a mono in? Would the input then go to the tip or the ring? The tip or the sleeve?
Sorry, even if you plugged what, sorry?
If you took out the TRS input cable...
Yes.
...and you plugged in a regular jack, mono jack...
Yeah, but you need to switch it over, because what you're doing then is you are grounding...
Cutting off half
the signal.
Yeah, okay.
At the input. So, but it will sum...
Try it.
Yeah, it will sum that... if you take out the right output, you've got a stereo input, take out the right output, it will sum the left and right delay lines to one side. So yeah, there you go.
Good stuff. Chris and Katie Morello. Hello, Chris and Katie Morello. Hi from Virginia. Hello to Virginia. My pedal journey is just beginning. I'm going stereo from a TC Electronic SCF Gold into a collider, which would be a Source Audio collider.
Beautiful.
Out stereo to a mixer. I find the chorus completely gelded unless hard panned left and right.
Okay, so that will depend on the chorus that you're using. This one. Okay. This is the one, right?
That is the one, the only one, the one in my heart. I just made that song up then.
I don't...
I'm trying to find a collider, but I don't have one here.
I don't know with the...
Is it a...
with the SCF, if it's a okay,
It says stereo output.
yeah, it is, but
So it's phase cancelling if you don't pan it left and right, basically.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So your left and right signals are out of phase with one another. Panning them hard right and left gives you that massive woo sound. When you put them in the middle, you've got some phase cancellation going on, I think is what's happening.
So just to put that in, what some chorus pedals do, which is when we designed the Red Wing, I was very specific. It was not to do this, which is why we had to do 2 separate delay lines. But to get that really big wide stereo thing, if you take the CE1, right, the old Boss CE1, the chorus sound is basically, your signal goes in, the signal is split. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. It is magical. I heard Jim Magini, Midnight Oil, kick that on one night, and that was me done. I was like, yep, that's awesome. Anyway.
Jim Magine Genie.
Jim Magine Genie lives on his yacht. So, okay, chorus pedal. Signal goes in, it's split. One side goes through a vibrato, which is, if you imagine the tiniest short delay, and the delay signal is modulated, which gives you a wobbling pitch. Then that wobbling pitch and your straight guitar sound is then mixed together, and what you get out is chorus. So it is the mixing of vibrato and a direct signal. That's your chorus sound. In the CE1 and the CE2 and a bunch of other chorus pedals, when you go stereo, what happens is one side is your direct guitar sound and the other side is the vibrato. So the stereo feed separates the direct sound from the vibrato. And when you hear that left and right, it is Ben-Hur huge. And I love that sound. It's, I do that with a diamond vibrato on the wet amp and direct signal on the dry amp. It's magical. Right. But some choruses, that one, there's the CHZ and the CH,
the Arian?
The Arian chorus and a bunch of those sorts of choruses. What they do, they create the chorus sound, right? And instead of separating the vibrato and the direct signal, what they do is they take the modulation sound and they flip the phase of it.
So the whole thing is flipped.
That's right, and they put it on the other side. Well, it's the phase of the modulated signal.
Right.
Because otherwise, when you mix them together, you get nothing out.
Yeah.
So the modulated signal is out of phase. And we're not talking about the phase of the modulation of the LFO. The actual audio is out of phase. Right? So what happens is you get your direct sound, but on one side you've got a vibrato that's in phase. The other side you've got a vibrato. Well, on one side you've got vibrato. The other side you've got a vibrato that is out of phase. It is out of relative phase to the vibrato on this side. And when it's split and panned, it sounds absolutely massive. But when you put them together and sum them together, the vibrato, because they're out of phase with each other, cancels each other out.
So the better way to do it is to flip the waveform, not the audio.
Exactly, which is what the Red Wing does, the Dimension C does. You need 2 independent delay lines where you're actually flipping the LFO, the wave.
Flipping the
LFO. And so that you can just have one and it sounds massive. You can have a wet dry, it sounds massive. You can have your 2 delay lines on one and your dry signal on the other, or separate your 2 delay lines and your 2 direct lines. So that's the way to do it. So the problem with the SCF is it does that thing where it flips the phase of your vibrato. When you have them summed together, sound tiny. We put them wide apart in stereo, it can sound big. That's why. Sorry, that took a long time.
It is a great answer. Now, what you could have done had you not had the collider in line is flip the phase on one of the channels in the mixer.
No.
If they were panned straight down the middle, but then you would be out of phase for all your other sounds.
Exactly. You'd be out of phase. The direct sound, the dry sound of the chorus.
So don't do that. Going to suggest this, Chris, if you want to run a sound that's not hard panned left and right. Although if you're running stereo, I'm struggling to understand why you wouldn't want to do that. But if for some reason you do want them panned down the middle, try running the SCF in mono just down one side.
Yeah.
That will give you the chorus wet dry.
It sounds great.
You will be astounded because it will sound stereo.
Yeah,
it does. If it's only coming out of one side. So try it.
Yeah. If you did flip the phase, what you would get is no dry signal and vibrato only.
Huh. Try it.
Yeah, there you go.
Hope that helps and isn't too confusing. It's yet one more reason why we almost universally prefer wet dry over stereo.
Yeah.
Because you just avoid all those problems.
You do.
Finger repair. Take care, says Duncan Plexico. Thank you, Duncan. Yes. Boring, isn't it? I'm hoping there'll be good news tomorrow at the fracture clinic. And they say, yes, go away.
It's still swollen though.
It'll get better in time. Yeah, well, broken.
Have you been using it over the weekend doing your DIY?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it's strapped up. And
Where is the brake?
Here.
Well,
and I've been very careful, so I haven't been fully using it.
You've been using it
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
but
and it's swollen, and I can see it's swollen. And they're going to say tomorrow, Mr. Taylor, when you've been ordered to rest your hand because you've broken it, have you been using your hand? And you're going to say
they didn't say
a little bit.
They didn't. They said take it easy.
Yeah, okay. Just Nick's taking it easy is a little bit different from everyone else taking it easy. My taking it easy is resting it on a velvet pillow while everyone comes and pops grapes into my mouth. And I sit there going, oh, my poor hand. Nick's been doing DIY all weekend.
I sent down a picture. I said when I went to the walking centre, they said, keep it cold and elevated. So I went for a walk in the snow up the hill. It's fine, God. I mean, if it was an actual, break and it needed to knit back together, then, yeah, I'd be being much, much, much more careful. But,
okay,
in my extensive medical knowledge, Dan, I examine the x-rays. God, man, hand x-ray is so weird. When you look at hand x-ray, those of you may have seen this before, you look at it and these things that stick out, your fingers, they actually go all the way down to here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you think, I mean, in my complete ignorance, would have assumed there was a big plate across there, but...
Oh, yeah, no.
They just go all the way down.
Yeah, and these two here, they get to a point where they're joined.
Yeah.
And then... But it's like if you have a look at our hand, then have a look at a bat wing.
Right.
And you can see the similarities.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And we share 99% of the same DNA or something,
right.
don't we?
Yeah. And fungus.
Yeah, I find when I hang upside down in a barn, though, all the blood goes to my head, which isn't great. I was very alarmed because this bit here isn't joined to that bit there. I was like, oh no. So I Googled healthy hand x-ray and it was the same.
Oh, okay. All right, very good.
Thank you, Duncan, for the good wishes. Let's see what's going on in the chat.
Got 800 people hanging out with us at the moment. It's lovely. So everyone's saying that the high watt is getting a lot of love today. It's because I'm not doing this enough.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's missing our eyes because we're looking down too much and not at the lens. Maybe we're probably splayed out a bit too far. I don't know. Ron Leslie says, see, this is why DIY means don't involve yourself.
That's very good.
I prefer YDI personally, which is you do it. And Catherine and I have in recent years usually got a man in because, or actually it always is a man. I worked out that I can earn more money by working and paying someone else to do the job is what I worked out. So I tend to get somebody in, but that wasn't the case this time. What are you working at?
Doctor My Eyes.
I don't know that song.
Jackson Brown. Doctor, my eyes have seen the leaves. And the slow parade of tears. Great song.
Yeah. Think of Django, Mick. Run it off. Yeah, I did go for a run actually after the day I did it, but it was a disaster because it was too snowy and slushy. Craig Todd, can you remember Guitarist Magazine's top 100 guitar solos? Indeed, I can. I can remember that. Was Hotel California number 1?
Yeah, it has to be.
Comfortably Numb, maybe number 2, the second bit.
Sorry, Soundgas has just gone, oh my God, Dan and Mick, you have a Wallace. Yes, we do.
We do, and it really needs some TLC, Tony. Yes, it was one of those list features that seemed like fun at the time. And the funny anecdote was that we reached out to all the PRs to get comments from people, and one day the phone went, and it was common in our office at that time. I've told this story before, so sorry, I'm turning into Dan. It was common in our office at that time to phone someone else in the company up and say, "Oh, hello, yes," or I'd phone in from outside and say, "Can I speak to Neville, please? Please tell him it's Jimmy Clapton," or "Please tell him it's I don't know, whoever it might be," and that was the gag. Anyway, so the phone goes off one day. "Hi, Mick, it's David Gilmour," and I replied, "F off, Neville." But the full version of the F word, not the abbreviation. Yeah, hi Mick, it's David Gilmour. F off, Neville. Mick, it really is David Gilmour. And I was like, oh, I am sorry. And he gave us a quote.
Did you say, by the way, in 10 years' time, I'm going to have a YouTube show called That Pedal Show?
Where I can recount this story. Yeah.
No, would you please come on?
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't. So yes, I do remember that, Craig. Back in the time when list features in magazines were okay to do. We took it very seriously.
Yeah. Melly Langle says, Dan, have you played with the CB mood, the Chase Bliss mood, feeling deeply inspired by that Alan Miller episode and strongly considering, seems like it'd be right up your alley. The mood is in the same category for me as the hologram, the big hologram pedal, where you plug it in and you just turn it on and it just makes these amazing sounds.
Infinite Jets.
The Infinite Jets, and it's extraordinary and makes these amazing sounds. And basically, so what the mood is a granular, what they call a granular looper delay, where it chops up a signal and then it reorganizes it in a random way, and they're incredible. My problem is that sticking the pedal on and it just making an amazing sound doesn't work for me. I need to understand what it's doing, and I struggle with it, and I didn't spend enough time with it to get to the grips. And I'm going to, because every time I've plugged it in and just turned it on, I'm like, it sounds amazing. I need to understand what's going on.
If you go back to we did a thing called Out of Your Comfort Zone Challenge probably 5 years ago.
Wow.
4 years ago, something like that. And
people have been asking for a V2
for a rematch. Yeah. God, it was about 4 days' work, wasn't it? That's what we were
for you, because you had hay bales and drones and stuff.
That was when we were enthusiastic. I used the blooper, wasn't it?
That's right. You used the blooper,
which is not the same as the mood, but it's
along the same line.
It's in that world, and a lot of the sounds, and I used it on the vocals and some other stuff, and exactly what he just said. It's one of those in the moment things where if you are in a moment of creativity and you're prepared to hang it out there, as it were, it's just fantastic. But the idea of trying to recall any of that is very, very difficult if you're of that frame of mind. Definitely different headspace material.
Yeah.
I love doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It just does take, if you're fully into the throes of middle-aged life as Dan and I are, and you don't have days to throw at something.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's very hard.
I remember when I first got my role in GP8 back in the heady days of 1980 something. And I was like, I heard this was coming out and I pre-ordered it from the retailer. And so I was one of the first guys in Australia to have one. And I spent years with that device and I could get that thing to do anything. If it was possible, I could get the GP8 to do it. I just understood every single thing about it.
Yeah.
And now you've got one knob pedals that have infinitely more power than those old rack machines. And you plug them into the apps. And it's like, if you love the sound of it, it's worth taking the time to understand what it does. And I do love the sound of the Mood. But I would need it to do more than just turn it on to make strange noises. I need to understand what. So Joey Landreth is a really good example. He heard it, went right, and he spent the time with it, and he found ways for that thing to do unbelievable stuff.
Yeah.
That's all off his album, and he got MIDI things to trigger it. Last time I saw him, he had it on his board. He's sending MIDI signals from his G3 to the Mood, and it was what was coming out of that machine was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, if you spend the time with it, phenomenal. And Chase Bliss stuff, man, it just sounds so good.
Always creative.
Yep.
Never just, this sounds like a Tube Screamer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And weirdly, one of the issues many of us find with modern pedals is option paralysis.
Yeah.
So if you've got a modelling device, for example, or something that's got 15 different overdrive sounds, you spend the first 20 minutes trying to find the one you like. You find the one you like and then you never change it again.
Yeah.
Or you keep trying to find the one you like, which delay you like, option paralysis, too many choices. I don't find that in stuff like Mood and Blooper.
Sure.
Because I don't know what the options are in the first place.
Yeah, there you go. So that's because I need to know what they are.
And then you're sort of drawn into going, oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's
right.
doing something I have no idea what it is.
Yep.
I have no frame of reference for it. I don't think it sounds like a GSM 800 or a 900 or a Plexi or a JTM 45. So I have no expectations. Therefore, I don't have option paralysis. What I have is I'm following it.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool with Jason Bliss stuff, I think.
It's wonderful.
Hello, Dan and Mick, says DGT Music.
G'day, mate.
Any plans to do another preamp pedal episode? I scooped up the Jackson Audio Silvertone 1484 and I love it.
It's amazing, that pedal.
Think you guys might get a kick out of it. Thanks for the videos.
Yeah, we had on the show before.
We did. We gave it away in a Patreon giveaway.
Yeah, it's
really cool thing.
Really great thing.
Yeah. We may well do another preamp episode. It always, the hardest thing to get over is it a preamp or is it just an overdrive pedal? Not just, is it an overdrive pedal? And there's quite a few products that sit on the cusp of those two things. There's loads of overdrive pedals out there that call themselves a preamp, and I think the Jackson is one of them. I haven't actually used it into a power section, but I think it is optimized for the front of amps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it sound like a preamp? Potentially, and that's where the confusion lies.
Sure.
But yeah, we liked it a lot. It was in like a multi-pedal roundup, like a pick and mix or something. I don't know if it was actually a pick and mix, but I brought it back when I went to NAMM, maybe 2023.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon Silver says, guys, you're finally free of the not having a Dr. Z curse. How's it been so far? How did you like it? And lastly, when are you guys getting an Epic Orange? So we filmed an episode with it last week, which will be out this Friday. I love it. I think it's an extraordinary thing. being a big Vox fan, I think Dr. Z has done a really wonderful job. The orange thing, it'd be interesting. I've heard a couple of oranges I didn't get on with, but I heard an orange 8050 that was awesome.
Where to start, isn't it? We should. It's been a terrible omission on TPS. I had an OTR 120 that I gigged for a couple years ago. I flipping loved it.
Wow.
Absolutely loved it with the 412. It was during the Britpop era.
Wow.
And Orange sort of made a big resurgence at that point. Orange has really changed a lot over the years. So just briefly, as fans of Orange amps will know, late 60s into the 70s, they were, right there alongside the shall we say, more classic amp brands. Lots of famous users. Big resurgence in the 90s in the Britpop era, as we well know. And then after that, the next big change was it seemed to be getting used by a lot of heavy bands. Certainly the stoner rock lot. And then brief dalliances into metal. So latterly, I think Orange has become more synonymous with hard rock and metal.
Right.
Which is a bit like when Mesa changed in such a big way in the early 90s. Mesa's before that with the Mark series, and they were used in all genre. And then dual rectifiers came along, and for a minute they were only hard rock and metal.
Yeah, right.
And it completely changed the view of the company. And I think Orange is in that bracket a little bit as well. So I would like to unravel some of that.
Sure.
And just have a listen to some amps. It would be great.
Just to say that the Matchless is a dual rectifier amplifier. You've got the choice of a single rectifier or a dual rectifier. And it was doing that in, way back when.
Check out the show this coming Friday on the Z so you can hear it in all its glory. And for context, we've got Dan's 61 AC30. Now, the Z80 that we have is not supposed to be an AC30 in any way, shape or form. However, it does have an interesting story vis-a-vis higher powered Vox amps that were trying to get the Vox sound at higher power. And that's where it was born. So we put it in that context.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything better than to do a loud
Vox sound.
Yes.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Although it does change fundamentally, as you will hear, like the bottom end is much more intact, etc., 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 etc. An interesting journey. I want to play some of the smaller ones.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm interested to know, what you'd need to do to make it a Z40, because it is, I think it sounds incredible. Far out, man, it's loud. I mean, that is proper stadium guitar sound loud.
It's loud in a different way, though, isn't it? Because it's my two rock is as loud.
Oh yeah, sure.
Easily, if not louder.
Yeah.
But in a completely different range of frequencies.
Yeah, right.
Very interesting. Watch the show on Friday and see what you think. Gareth is on tonight. Hey, Gareth Johnson. He says,
Gareth.
Orange Custom Shop 50, UK made, point to point, 50 watt Class AB. Will also run 30 watt Class A. Would love to hear that. I have watched them being made. Matt Amp says, Eagle Ray Rob. Yeah, that's a really interesting story. The whole Matt Amp and Orange story from years ago. Todd Roy says the cleans are really underrated in Orange amps. I would entirely agree. Yes, let's have a look at it.
Soundgas says, Dan, Mick, you can hang on to the 636 a little while longer. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, I do. I really want to get it plugged in front end and have a listen.
Yeah.
Stick a mic in it.
Yeah, sure.
There was a question here. This is what I wanted to mention. Wadey, 1960 CS. Hey, Wadey. He says, have you had time to listen to Ariel Posen's new Mile End 3 record? It's awesome. It bloody well is. I had it on Sunday maybe. Just put it on in the background. It's really, really good. Guitar sounds are... And the playing...
Oh, man.
It is a lovely piece of work. Mile End 3, Ariel Posen, out this week. Please give it a listen on whatever you listen on. Yes.
Well, Gareth Johnson says, "Come borrow mine."
Oh, nice.
So I one day we'll get around to doing this, but there's a really interesting show that I want to do with Gareth. Gareth is an amazing producer and does a lot of music for like soundtrack and TV and stuff. And he has this incredible knack of finding the right feel of music for an image, for a piece of film. And I want to I've got a few friends in that world, and I'd love to explore that world a bit. I'd love to do a challenge where I don't know, there's an old black and white car chase, and or something. We get a piece of image, and we won't do it at Gareth. We'll do it, individually because it takes too long. But I think it'd be really an interesting thing to try.
Yeah, I'd love it. I think you saying that, as I'm watching this Irish murder drama at the moment called CRA, C-R-A, and obviously that won't be the way it's pronounced. It'll be pronounced like Dave or something. With apologies to everyone in Ireland, but Irish words pronunciation, yeah, no idea. It's spelt C-R-A with an accent, and the soundtrack is completely not right for the.
Oh, really?
Some of it is.
Yeah. Okay.
And some of it's like I'm watching it with Catherine going, this is completely wrong.
Yeah.
With apologies to whoever did the soundtrack. It's like there's like 80s synth stuff in it.
Sometimes they do that to just shift the way that you feel. One thing that one thing that I really struggle with is that when the music is telling you how to feel about something.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't need to go that far. But when the music supports the narrative,
yeah,
is really beautiful.
Well, it's when you don't notice it. I think.
Yeah.
When you're engrossed in the story. It's a bit like mixes on records. You should never notice a mix on a record.
Yes.
If you notice the mix, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, okay, that's very good.
Unless you're specifically listening for that.
Yeah.
Like, if you start noticing the cuts in a TV show, then there's something wrong. All that stuff is there, exactly as you said, to support the narrative, not to be noticed.
Yeah.
So if I'm going, this music is totally wrong. Like if it was set in the 80s and there was 80s synth pop and
of course.
80s cars and people were dressed in an 80s fashion, fine.
But it's like when Blade Runner came out and the soundtrack to that was so new and so fresh, and it put you in the right place to see this incredible film.
Yeah.
But did you see the new Dune film, the second part?
I really want to, but I've never seen the first one.
Okay.
So I wanted to watch them back to back.
So watch the first one. It's great. But then the sound design for the second film is unbelievable.
Right.
It's just like one of the best sound experiences I've had at the theatre. The sound of the spaceship taking off.
Right.
All that. I love that stuff.
Give it a go.
Frankie Holt says, Google says it's pronounced cray.
Cray. Thank you.
And Bill Green says a 40-watt-Z would probably be the Maz 38.
Yeah.
It's just, the amp just kept getting louder and louder and louder. We didn't have it past half. We'd just go, oh! And it's amazing. But I'd be interested to see what it sounded like cranked.
Well, we got it to like 3 o'clock on both controls.
Oh, did we? Oh,
and
okay.
That was pushing 111
right.
dB.
Yeah, that was hurty.
But as we explained in the video, it's at a specific frequency where it really starts to be dangerous and hurt.
Sure.
What is interesting, which you don't get over YouTube, and we explain this in the video, is the 61AC30 is cranked, right? And that's hitting maybe 100 dB, 99, something like that. It sounds glorious. And then you turn the Z on and it starts hitting 107, 108 quite quickly.
Right.
And there's some sense of that in the audio because you feel the bottom enders together.
Right.
It's not crapping out. You can hear that it's not compressing as much and you can hear the transient in the note a bit more. But of course, what you can't get over YouTube is your chest and feeling it feeling the physical pressure of the thing and what it's doing to the room, and that's something we'll never. Well, not never say never. That's something that we won't be able to do in any immediate future on TPS. You really do have to be in the room with the thing to understand what's going on.
Yeah. I want to record a show. You know how they do quadraphonic sounds and surround sound 5 point whatever. I want to do a show that you have to plug in a gaming suit and step on a gaming pad.
Yeah.
So put your headphones on so that when we go, boom, the whole thing just goes. And so just to get a sense of what's happening in the room, that'd be fun.
Yeah. To give you a kind of, yeah. You do have to be in the room. You have to be in the room.
Yeah.
Wadey 1960 CS says, on that thought, Dan, to whomever is mixing the sound in movies, please learn to get the voices and the sound effects normalised. My TV remote will thank you.
That is something that happens now, especially with all the sound bars and stuff now. Like
somebody explain to me why.
You're listening, like, what are they saying? And then it's the other stuff come on and go bang.
An ant steps on a leaf and it blows you away.
So unnecessary.
Yeah. Gareth will know why. Someone did explain to me why that is the case.
There's a film called Tenet that we watched at the cinema, and it's like a famous director. And I came out of the theatre furious because I could hardly understand a word anyone was saying. But apparently it's a technique to make you really focus on what they're saying.
Oh. Yes.
I'm like, well, you can take that technique.
Yeah, I'm with you though, Wadey. I sit there with the remote, 3 up for voices, 3 down.
Yeah.
For as you can imagine, I don't have the worst sound system at home, so it's not a problem with that.
Christopher Nolan, thank you, Todd Roy.
Ah.
Yeah. Alex Hutton says, such an amazing channel. Thank you, bud. Yeah, it does get a bit random, but yeah, we like it. John Pardo says, Nolan is awful for that. Dark Knight Rises is pretty much unwatchable. Yeah, I find it an infuriating technique. But, I mean, enough people watch his stuff, and it's
Doe Biog says you're supposed to have a separate channel for the centre for the voices. Yeah, I do know that. Most modern systems should sort it out. You shouldn't have to have a home cinema amp with individually
just to watch the news.
This wouldn't be the news, would it? It'd be a movie, but
yeah, but the news, they've got their own sound effects now. The news coming, bum 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 bum, and the weather.
Also, of course, a lot of modern. Sorry, we'll finish this thread now. A lot of modern audio gear is really, really scoopy EQ'd as well. They just don't know how to do mids. And that, of course, that's where all the voices are.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Anyway, right. Sorry, we completely got off the super chats. Damien Joseph. Hi, Damien.
Hi, Damien.
Damien says, greetings from South Carolina. Hello to South Carolina. If I don't like the Timmy, does it reason that I won't like the Vemirum Janray either? Or are they different enough?
They're different enough.
They're very different.
Yeah.
We think they're very different.
I think the Tim and the Timmy, I like the Timmy. I really like the Tim, the big one. But I think the Janray is incredible. I can hear the paws of a pooch.
Here's a dude.
Hello, baby.
Here's
Hello.
a dude.
You coming up?
Where are you going? You're going on down.
Go
on down then.
Good girl.
Good girl.
Good girl. Hi. Hello, baby. Oh, my baby. Hello, darling. Hello, darling. Yeah. Yeah.
That's Rosie. Rosie had a nice cut on, I don't mean a cut, I mean a groom, on Friday, so she looks very smart.
She looks lovely.
Don't you, Rosie?
So beautiful.
You smell averagely okay. She gets this lavender spray stuff after.
Does she? Oh, nice.
She immediately goes out and rolls in shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, or are they different? They are different. Vermeuren got a lot of stick when they came out with the Janray for copying the Timmy.
Originally, they got a lot of stick for copying a rat.
Was it?
Yeah, and then the Timmy came up, and then it's like, actually, look at every overdrive pedal, and they're all,
yeah,
they're not complicated circuits; they're all derivatives of something. But
yeah.
The Janray is the same thing sonically. You stick it on, it's like, yeah, that's.
I've never. It is definitely. I've never spent any great deal of extended time with them side by side to really get into it. I had a Timmy, bought it off Pete Honoré. Actually, I think I sold it as one of the things to help fund the 345.
Yeah.
I think, did I sell it as part of that? Might have done. Can't remember. I don't know about the Janray, but with the Timmy, I always remember plugging it in and liking how it sounded.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's one of those pedals that's got all those options where I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah. I'm out.
I don't know what the best one is, so I don't want it. Which is insane, but that's kind of where I got to with it.
Gordon rings and says, "Hey, I'm back. I thought this would be over by now. Did I miss anything?"
So did we. Like about 5 years ago, Gordon. I will put my hand up for Vermeuren pedals and say every single Vermeuren pedal I've played sounds the tits.
Yep.
To use a colloquialism.
Yep, completely.
And feels, I shouldn't, and feels great as well.
Come on. Hi. Come and see me. Quick. Come on.
It's a long way up, isn't it, guys?
Good girl. You're so clever. Yeah,
and also when I hear them in the hands of other people, whether it's Michael Landau, obviously, who also has been affected by the California fires.
Have you heard Mike Stern play with it?
The Janray?
Yeah.
No.
So when I had a lesson with him over lockdown, he said, Dan, I need an overdrive pedal. What should I get? I said, I know. And I got the boys to send him one. And the next picture I see of him playing his board, he's got on his board. He's using it. And yeah, it sounds, it's far out, man. Mike
Adam Miller, Josh Smith, I think Matt Schofield maybe back along a bit, but just, yeah.
John Shanks.
Oh, that Shanks overdrive is really special.
Yeah.
So, yeah, have all the good things to say about Vermeuren pedals. The one that I wish I bought that I never did was their Tube Screamer, which sounded
Did we not get that?
Freaking believable.
Oh, hang on, but that's like the $1,200.
They
really?
weren't. I think they were 500 and something when it came out, and I was like, I'm not paying $500 for a flaming overdrive pedal. I wish I had.
Yeah, they're incredible.
I did pay 400 and something for the Landau, to be fair. Wherever that is. Anyway, yeah, the good news, Damien, is if you buy one used, you'll probably be able to sell it for what you
that's true.
Bought it for if you don't like it, as long as you buy smart, don't buy at an inflated price. It's a good thing about really high quality pedals. If you keep your eyes peeled, figure out the sort of pricing arc of it, buy right, you can usually always sell it for more or less what you paid for it with good quality stuff.
And it's what's interesting about the good quality stuff. I mean, you can find really cheap pedals that connect with you, and that's great. And I can pick up an £80 Rat and it sounds unreal. And there's really great quality, affordable pedals out there. Sometimes when you find that really special thing that's expensive, it's like you approach it differently. I don't know, when I played the Janray or the 636 that we played or the Cunningham Fuzz, they're not, the price isn't arbitrary. They're not just sticking on thinking, let's see what we can charge for it. The amount of work that went in to get that 636 right, and when you look at the Cunningham Fuzz and just the components and stuff they use, they're not using those components because they're expensive. They're using those components because those components give it the sound that they want to hear. And, when you find pedal like that, they just bring something else to the table. And I love that. And you buy them for the right price and they'll hold their price.
Yeah.
And and that's great.
Yeah. That is very true.
I don't. Just to say again, I don't. The Klon, and everyone talks about the Klon in this sense, but the Klon didn't become popular because of an accident. The Klon is an amazing designed pedal.
Yeah, because really great players used it and loved it.
Exactly. And why do they use it and love it? Because it's amazing.
Yeah. But unless you're buying it for an investment.
But that's the point it got to. It got to a ridiculous land.
Pay $5,000 for one
for
till I
sure.
sell mine and then buy it. I've said this many times and the price changes every time. I think I paid 325 quid for mine. So I don't feel too bad about that.
Yeah.
Nonum Linus. I also feel that the person I bought it off hopefully feels good that I bought it and kept it and use it.
Sure.
And I didn't flip it.
Sure.
I mean, there's no law against that, but it is, anyway, whatever. Nonum Linus says, Mick, did you break your finger? You might need a splint on there, man. No, I broke the joint here. And the nice lady at the walk-in centre said, I do not need a splint. I just need to keep it strapped. I have an appointment tomorrow to go and get it x-rayed again. Thank you.
Did she say take it easy?
She said, take it easy.
Did you take it easy?
Yeah, I took it easy for me.
Did your version of take it easy?
Yeah.
I think you should have specified with her, what do you mean by take it easy?
Yeah.
I think you would have been surprised what she said.
It's okay. It's okay. I've been watching SAS Rogue Heroes and they carry on with much worse injuries.
That's funny.
Sam Colson. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Good to hear from you, buddy. He says, just want to send my appreciation to you guys for Red Wing. What an achievement. Here's to another great year of TPS.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. Colin Littlejohn. Hi, Colin. He says, hello from Los Angeles. Fortunately, I am safe here in downtown LA. Good for you, buddy.
Good, mate.
Hope to see you at NAMM next week. Please answer a question from the chat. Dan will be there. I won't.
Yes,
So,
I'll be there.
You might see Dan.
So if you see me, come and say hi.
Question from the chat then. Right. Buzz Crumhunger. Hey, Buzz.
Hey, Buzz.
Buzz Crumhunger says, okay. But what about the argument that the Behringer 646 that they released killed off that sound gas unit because they managed to make it so much cheaper? Have you thought about getting one?
Okay.
We should get one. We should open it up and have a look.
Yep.
It would be...
Let's just do it. We don't even... You know what we're going to do? We're not going to talk about it. We're going to... We're not going to talk about it. We're going to open it up. We'll show it to you. Then we'll just play them side by side and we won't say a word.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do.
And we may be proved wrong.
Yep. Happy to be proved wrong.
Or right.
Haven't.
Because we haven't said. We've just implied.
There we go. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And then you can have the argument about diminishing marginal returns because I'm over it.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
Melly Blagwell. Blangle. Melly Blangle. Mick, what's the bigger deal breaker for you with 70 strats, weight or headstock? Well, I love the headstock. So it's...
Me too.
It's weight. This 1970 Strat, which for me, although it is a 70 Strat, doesn't really qualify as a 70 Strat because 4-bolt neck, no bullet truss rod. It's basically a mid-60 Strat with a big headstock.
Nitro on the body.
It wouldn't have been originally, but it is now.
I thought it would have been originally.
They changed in 67, 68.
Oh, okay. Isn't that great?
It's actually lighter than my 61. So this is a particularly decent guitar. 68 to 70, 71. More good ones than bad ones, if you could even say that.
Yeah, they're great.
And the more you go into the 70s, I find it's harder to find one that I like personally. Don't ask me, ask Ainsley Lister, who has a number of like 72. Well, he's got some 60s ones now, but 72 to 76 era, and some of those guitars that you would write off because of the 3-bolt neck and the bullet truss rod and the overly heavy bodies. Not a bit of it. Utterly fantastic guitars.
Yeah.
Even my belly agrees.
Yes.
And this
that's a
is such a vibey guitar. There are things I greatly prefer about it than my 61. The only thing I don't like, back to the headstock, is it's got the thick headstock, and that does annoy me from a visual point of view.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it makes any difference to the sound, but...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the 61's got a noticeably thinner headstock.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Have a look at that, Dan.
Oh, my goodness.
And the 61's even thinner.
I had no idea. Oh, that's amazing.
For the people at home... Obviously, it's not in focus, and my arms look like snow.
But there's something I've always wanted a telly with a big 70s headstock like that.
Yeah.
Because sonically they sound different,
Yeah.
and there's a resonant thing for me. Just the image of it, I just feel that there's something that resonates differently. Yeah. Gary Jovanovic says, Dan, how's the SG for you compared to the Les Paul? Funny fact is, Gary, this is a Les Paul. Yes. Well, let's show you. So 1962, and it still says Les Paul on the old headstock. Let's see if I can do this. I bet you I can't.
Angle it up.
There you go.
Tilt the guitar back. Angle it up so it catches the light. There you go.
So I've got 3 Les Pauls now. Okay, but how is it compared to the Les Paul? It's really interesting. It's a skinnier sound, and it's super, super resonant. And I really... So even acoustically... Yeah, it doesn't have that weighty bottom end that the Les Paul's got. And I love the Les Paul for that.
Much thicker lower mids.
Much thicker lower mids.
Less extended high end that you can discern, though it may well be there.
Now, this is an amazing guitar. And I love it. But I can't get the clean tones that I can out of the SG. This is arguably better for jazz because it's got that thick thing, but...
And it's better for sounding like Jimmy Page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But... it just sits in a really beautiful place for me, this guitar.
It's a Telly Paul.
It's a Telly Paul. It's a Telly Paul. Yeah.
If I didn't think the Telecaster or the 335 were the best guitars ever made, I might think it was the SG.
Yeah. No, I'm very, very happy with it, mate. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Awesome things. Awesome things. Last in this week is Brian Carpenter. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Good to hear from you, buddy. He says, right, what are the pros and cons of wall hanging versus floor style guitar racks? I've always had wall hangers, but as part of a home renovation, my guitar area is being redone.
You have a guitar. You have one of those guitar things called a Harvey. Be a Harvey wall hanger.
It's good. It's very good, Dan. I've never had any wall hangers.
Yeah,
actually, yeah, I did briefly.
So I've got wall hangers. So you need to make sure that whatever you're using on the headstock, if you've got nitro finishes on your guitars, you need to make sure that the foam they use doesn't react with nitro. That's very important. But I like the wall hangers. I think they're good.
Don't think there's any structural problem in hanging most normal guitars from a good wall hanger.
No.
If you were worried about that, I've never heard anyone moan about that.
No. Guitar shops have been doing it for years, and
yeah,
you know.
Of course, there's a great space-saving benefit in having them on the wall, because if they're on the floor, they have to lean back a bit. They take up floor space.
That's
They're
right.
very easy for pets and children to knock over, and other humans. The other thing you might just want to be aware of is certain rubbers and plastics can eat nitrocellulose finishes.
That's right.
So you just want to make sure you get whatever touches the guitar is a nitro safe material. Quite often they'll say that in the product description these days. They didn't used to. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know of any reason why you shouldn't hang guitars on a wall. Obviously, don't hang them above a radiator.
Yeah.
You want to avoid that probably, or indeed in very close proximity to a radiator.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, most modern houses these days, certainly new builds, tend to have very well regulated underfloor, don't they? In which case they might be better on a hanger instead of right underneath the, as they are in here, underneath the...
Yeah. And the great thing about just having the guitars out is great.
My guitars hate being in the cases.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that's a bit of motivated cognition, but every time I take my whatever it is out of the case, it just takes much longer to get playable and hold tune.
Yeah.
Gibsons especially. But
yeah.
Frankie Holt says Hercules hangers come with a cover for nitro guitars.
Hercules.
So there you go. Scott Gaylor says I've got 30 plus guitars hung on a wall, no issues at all. James Bless says be careful of sunlight. Yes, that's a really good point. Bleaching finishes and so forth.
I took the took a bit of maintenance and took this off the other day and saw how deep the cherry is underneath this. It's like, oh, so pretty.
Yeah. Bits of advice coming in on the chat.
Combustion Engine says, my house is a 14th century barn. The walls aren't vertical enough for hangers.
Hilarious. Dustin Thiessen says, be careful of acoustics on the wall, especially in winter time, depending. Lots of bits of the rest of the world have quite huge variances in humidity, and dry is really bad for guitars because they shrink and crack, especially all solid wood acoustic guitars, which is what Dustin is talking about. And mountainous areas I think can be quite bad for that. Luckily in the UK we have a very temperate climate, and it's usually damp of some
that's right,
humid, so it's not heavy. Air conditioning can be an issue, but in the UK much less of a problem generally. Good. Yeah. Groovy.
Groovy.
Okay. I think we're there or thereabouts. It's coming up to 7 p.m. GMT. So thank you everyone for being with us. We appreciate it. Anyone that's going to be at NAMM next week, Dan will see you there. And we will see you on Friday for the Dr. Z show and AC30. So expect cranked Dr. Z Z80 and cranked AC30, and of course them together, which is pretty glorious. Thank you very much, BV. I didn't do any housekeeping this week. There will be a Patreon giveaway. Sorry. God, it's terrible yawning. We just need to pick some stuff to give away, which we'll do very quick. So patrons, keep an eye on your email. We're going to do a bit of a bumper giveaway because we didn't have one in December to make up for the missing giveaway. Yeah. No.
That's very good.
Daniel, play us out. See you soon, folks. Thank you for being with us. Lovely horse. It's a